الله أكبر الله أكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولي الأولين والآخرين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه وخليله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Respected brothers and sisters who are listening, as we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created two abodes. There are two places or two worlds or two abodes which Allah subhanahu has created. And those two abodes are mentioned in the Quran in many places. And those two abodes, they are known as Dar al-Dunya and Dar al-Akhira. Dar al-Dunya and Dar al-Akhira. The word Dar, ad-Dar in Arabic, it means a place where you live. And this is why when we translate into English, we say abode, i.e. it is a place of residence. So Dar ad-Dunya, because there is a phase in our existence in which we will live in this dunya, in this world. And then Darul Akhirah, the abode of the hereafter, because there is a phase in our existence in which we will live in the Akhirah. And notice I am using the word existence, in our existence. So we should not think that our existence is limited to only this world, this worldly life. Rather, our existence is much, much greater than only this dunya. So our current life, our worldly life, our life upon the earth, this is a small stage of our total existence. And we know that ad-dunya, dar ad-dunya, this is short and temporary. And we know that darul akhirah is what is permanent. And this is why in the Quran, when you read the Quran, you will have read ayat which have these three words, hum fiha khalidun, or a mixture of these three words, khalidina fiha abada, darul khuld. You read these words often, hum fiha khalidun. The meaning of hum fiha khalidun is they shall reside in it for eternity. They shall reside in it forever. A permanent residence. And these words in the Quran, they are never mentioned regarding the dunya. Hum fiha khalidun, they'll remain in it forever. These words are only mentioned regarding the akhirah. And this shows us that the akhirah, it is darul khuld. It is the abode of permanent residence and eternity. And as for dar ad-dunya, the worldly life which we are living in right now, this is not darul khuld. This is not the place of eternity. And therefore, your focus in your existence, your focus and your objectives and your goals are based upon what is permanent and eternal and what is temporary. Just like a person who is on a journey, and let's say in his journey he is going to stop off at a service station. When he stops off at that service station, he doesn't buy things for a year. He doesn't buy furniture. He doesn't buy things which he will use for the next 5 years. When he stops at the service station, what does he do? Maybe buys petrol for his journey. He might buy a few snacks for the next 2 or 3 hours, because he knows that his objectives and his goals are dependent upon how long he's remaining somewhere. When he goes to his house where he's going to live for X amount of years, he buys furniture, he buys clothes, he buys staple food, because he knows that I'm here for a long time. Like this, the dunya and the akhirah. Only a person who is foolish would make all of the goals and objectives in this life, and this life is temporary, as if they're remaining here forever. The intelligent person weighs up the dunya and the akhirah, thinks about how long you're going to remain in the dunya, how long you're going to remain in the akhirah, and then prepares in accordance to this. So this is with regards to the dunya and the akhirah. And your life and your existence, what is it? It's a safar, it's a journey. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he gave the example of a person's existence. He said, "Inna mathali ka mathali al-rakib." That my example is the example of a person who is on a journey. And I am on a long journey, and I came to a tree, and I got down from my camel, and I took a short stop or a break under that tree. And then I got up on the camel again, and I continued my journey. The point he was making was that small amount of time in which this rider got off the camel and took some shade under the tree and rested for a short while, that small break, that was the life of the dunya. Otherwise, the person continues in his journey towards the akhirah. And this journey, the journey towards the akhirah, the journey towards the hereafter, when does it begin? When does the journey towards the akhirah begin? As soon as a person enters into the dunya, the first moment in which he is born, the first breath which the baby takes, with the first breath, you have already begun your journey towards the akhirah. With the very first breath of coming into the dunya, you have already begun your journey towards the akhirah. And there's a famous narration of Ali radiallahu anhu when he spoke about this journey. He said, "Irtahalat al-dunya mudbira," that the dunya has begun its journey and it has given you its back and it is going away from you. وَارْتَحَلَتِ الْآخِرَةِ مُقْبِلًا, and the akhirah has begun its journey and it is coming closer and closer to you. He said, وَلِكُلِّ مِّنْهُمَا بَنُونَ, and each one of these two abodes has its people, its children. Meaning, there are children of the dunya and there are children of the akhirah. He said, radiallahu anhu, كُونُوا مِنْ أَبْنَاءِ الْآخِرَةِ وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنْ أَبْنَاءِ الدُّنْيَا. Be from the children of the akhirah, do not be from the children of the dunya. So he said in this narration that the dunya and the akhirah, both of them are in motion. Both of them are moving. Nothing is static. Both of them are moving. The difference is that the longer you live, the more days pass by, the more breaths you take, the more the dunya is leaving you and the more the akhirah is approaching you. And then there will come a time when the dunya has completely left and in front of you is only the akhirah. And so, what should the attitude of a Muslim be? Like he said, radiallahu anhu, كُونُوا مِنْ أَبْنَاءِ الْآخِرَةِ وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنْ أَبْنَاءِ الدُّنْيَا. Be from the children of the akhirah, do not be from the children of the dunya. And what does that mean? Be from the children of the akhirah, do not be from the children of the dunya. not be from the children of the dunya. It means that don't live your life thinking that you're going to remain upon this dunya forever. It also means do not sacrifice the akhirah for the dunya. Do not sacrifice the akhirah for the dunya. Don't sacrifice the reward of the akhirah for the temporary reward of the dunya. So for example, in the akhirah there are rewards, and in the dunya there are rewards. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised us enjoyment in the akhirah, and there is also enjoyment in the dunya. The Muslim who is from abna al-Akhira, is from the children of the akhirah, not from the children of the dunya, he does not sacrifice the enjoyment of the akhirah in order to taste some haram enjoyment in this dunya. There is a house in the akhirah ready, and there are also houses in the dunya. A Muslim who is from abna al-Akhira, is from the children of the hereafter, he does not sacrifice and give up his house in the akhirah for the haram house in the dunya. And neither is this logical, because the dunya is only a few moments. The dunya, if you think far away, it's only a few moments. And anybody who's reached 40 years of age, 50 years of age, 60 years of age, when he stands back and thinks about the 60 years, the 50 years that he has lived, the 40 years of he has lived, he thinks that it's just like the blink of an eye. Where have those 30 years gone? How quick have those 40 years gone? What have I done in those 60 years? It's just like the blink of an eye. But you don't realize that until you've lived those years. The one who is young and looking forward thinks that they're going to be upon this earth for a very long time, and that these 50, 60, 70 years is like forever. But when that person reaches 40, 50 or 60, he thinks, subhanallah, it's only been like the blink of an eye. The dunya is the shortest and the quickest of our abodes, and the akhirah is the one which is eternal. And between the dunya and the akhirah, remember we said that your life, your existence is like a journey, and you're traveling from one abode to another abode. You are traveling from the dunya and you are traveling to the akhirah. And this journey is very quick. And whilst you're on this journey, traveling from the dunya to the akhirah, there is another place or another abode which is in the middle. Between the dunya and between the akhirah, there is another abode in the middle. And that is known as al-Barzakh. Al-Barzakh. And this is the subject of the reminder today. So al-Barzakh, what is it? It is the stage in a person's existence after having left the dunya but before entering the akhirah. After having left the dunya but before the hour is established and people are resurrected, there is a middle abode. And this is also a temporary abode. This is not a permanent abode. And it is known as Barzakh. And sometimes people call Barzakh the life in the grave. The life in the grave, or the Barzakh. And Allah subhanahu, He mentions the Barzakh in the Quran. He said, وَمِن وَرَائِهِمْ بَرْزَخٌ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. And behind them is a Barzakh until the day in which they will be resurrected. And so a person remains in the Barzakh until everybody is resurrected once more. And in reality, if we look at these three abodes, if we look at the dunya, and then the Barzakh, and then the akhirah, they increase in terms of how long you will stay in each place. So the dunya is the shortest, and the barzakh is longer than the dunya, and the akhirah is eternal, longer than everything else. And just to give you an example of the difference between the dunya and the barzakh and the akhirah, and how much they differ in terms of how short the dunya is, and that the barzakh is greater and longer, and then there is the akhirah. To give you an example, think about some of the Sahaba, like Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he lived upon this earth for just over 60 years. 65 years, 63 years, that's how long he lived upon this earth. Or 63 years. He only spent, radiallahu anhu, he only spent 63 years upon this earth. That was the life of his dunya. Then he passed away. And he was buried in his grave. And he entered into his barzakh, radiallahu anhu. And it's been just under 1,400 years, and he has remained in his barzakh. 60 odd years in the dunya, 1,400 odd years in the barzakh, and only Allah subhanahu knows when the trumpet will be blown and Yawm al-Qiyamah will come. We don't know. And then he will move from the barzakh to the akhirah. So the difference between the dunya and the barzakh, 63 years in the dunya he lived, 1,400 years in the barzakh. And Allah knows best how longer he will remain there. And then there will be Yawm al-Qiyamah. And Yawm al-Qiyamah is even more permanent and eternal. And so, ayyuhal ikhwa, the ulama, when they speak about Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of resurrection, and the day of resurrection is also known as a sa'a, and the meaning of a sa'a is the hour. In reality, there is more than one Yawm al-Qiyamah. There isn't only one Yawm al-Qiyamah. There isn't only one sa'a. Rather, there are 2 days of resurrection. There are 2 hours. And the ulama, they divide them. They say as-sa'at al-sughra wa sa'at al-kubra. The minor hour and the major hour. The minor day of resurrection, day of judgment, and the major day of resurrection. The major day of resurrection, the major hour, this is what we call Yawm al-Qiyamah. When the trumpets will be blown and everybody is resurrected and everything around us changes. The minor hour, the minor Yawm al-Qiyamah, it is with a person's death. So when a person dies and his soul departs his body and he enters into his life in the grave, the barzakh, this is his Yawm al-Qiyamah. This is his hour being established until the day when everybody else will be resurrected. And there is a narration of Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. And this narration, it is narrated by his freed slave who was called Hani. So he is called Hani, Mawla Uthman. Hani, the freed slave of Uthman radiallahu anhu. And Hani, he mentions, كان عثمان بن عفان إذا وقف على القبر بكى. That Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, whenever he would visit the grave and stand by the grave, he would begin to weep. And he would cry so much that his beard, it becomes wet with his tears. And people used to look at Uthman and they used to say to him, Ya Uthman, O Uthman, Inna al-jannata tudhkar wa la tabki. That Jannah is mentioned so many times you don't cry. Wa inna nara tudhkar wa la tabki. And the fire is mentioned so much and we don't see you weeping. But when you come to the grave, then you start crying. And Uthman radiallahu anhu, he said a very deep statement. He said, إِنَّ الْقَبْرَ أَوَّلَ مَنَازِلِ الْآخِرَةِ. That the grave is the first stage of the Akhirah. The grave is the first step into the Akhirah. فَمَنْ نَجَى مِنْهُ فَمَا بَعْدَهُ أَيْسَرُ. So whoever passes the test of the grave, then everything else after the grave is easy for him. وَمَنْ خَسِرَ فِيهِ. And whoever is destroyed and punished in the grave, then afterwards it is more and more difficult for that person. And subhanallah, when it comes to Yawm al-Qiyamah, the major day of resurrection, we know, and maybe you've listened to some of these, Allah subhanahu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they told us about ashratu sa'ah, that there are signs before the coming of the hour. Dajjal, Isa alayhi salam, Dukhan, all of the signs, the major signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah. So when it comes to Yawm al-Qiyamah, there are signs. And these signs will warn you that Yawm al-Qiyamah is approaching. And as you know, there are minor signs and there are major signs. The minor signs, some of them have already passed. Other minor signs, we are living through them right now and they will continue. And then the major signs will come. And the major signs are 9 or 10 in total. When the major signs begin to appear, then you know that Yawm al-Qiyamah is very, very close to us. And the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the hadith of Usayd radiallahu anhu, when he described the major signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah, he said the major signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah are like the beads in a necklace. The major signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah are like beads in a necklace. If you were to cut the necklace and hold it like this, what will happen? The beads, one after the other, they will fall down. These are the major signs. Meaning when the first major sign comes, all the other major signs will come very, very quickly. Like beads falling off from a necklace. And then there will be Yawm al-Qiyamah. A shahid, the point is that there are signs and indicators that will warn you that Yawm al-Qiyamah is approaching. When it comes to death, there are no signs. And in many cases, death comes to a person and it comes very, very quickly, without any type of warning. And neither does the grave respect who is old and who is younger. The dunya, it respects, the laws of the dunya, it respects age. And it respects good health. The life of the grave and death does not respect age or good health. Meaning, amongst us here, if we take the oldest to the youngest, we know that the oldest ones, they were born first. And then the next youngest were born next. And then the next youngest were born next. And the baby has just been born recently. So the dunya is respecting people's age. In the Akhirah, it's not like that. How many times has the father buried the son? How many times has a grandfather buried his grandson? How many times has a husband who is older than his wife buried his wife? How many times, maybe in your own masajid, in your own masjid, you have prayed a janazah, and those who are praying and leading the janazah are older in age than the person who is in the coffin. This shows us that the Barzakh, it does not respect the laws of sequence and the dates of people's birth and so on. Neither does death respect wealth or health. This dunya, it respects the laws of health and wealth. Meaning, the one who is rich lives a prosperous life. The one who is poor in this dunya struggles. The dunya respects this. The one who is healthy and strong lives a more active life. the one who is ill and weak lives a life which has more difficulty and struggle and more pain. The dunya respects it. The barzakh is not like that. Death does not respect health or illness or wealth or poverty. It's not that the poor will die first and then the rich will die second. Neither is it that the ill will die first and the healthy will die afterwards. It's not like that. How many times has a person been diagnosed with cancer? May Allah protect us all. And given, the doctors give, the specialists have given that person 2 months to live, 3 months to live, 5 months to live. All of us know examples. And that person remains alive for maybe years afterwards. And another person was completely healthy and yet dies quicker. And also when it comes to wealth and poverty, how many times has a janazah been done? And those who are praying the janazah, they are poor. And the one whose janazah is being prayed, he was rich and wealthy. But barzakh and the grave and maut does not respect wealth and health and poverty and richness. There's no respect for it. And al-Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, he summarized it beautifully and he said, وَكَمْ مِنْ صَحِيحٍ مَاتَ مِنْ غَيْرِ عِلَّةٍ وَكَمْ مِنْ سَقِيمٍ عَاشَ حِينَ مِنَ الدَّهْرِ. He said in his poetry, وَكَمْ مِنْ صَحِيحٍ مَاتَ مِنْ غَيْرِ عِلَّةٍ. That how many healthy people, strong people, and they die without an illness. وَكَمْ مِنْ سَقِيمٍ عَاشَ حِينَ مِنَ الدَّهْرِ. And how many ill people, and yet they live a long time. They live a long time, longer than the one who was healthy. So we should not think that the barzakh respects this. And because unfortunately time is short, I wanted to summarize the aqeedah of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah with regards to the barzakh, very briefly. So firstly, we believe that the barzakh is a barrier between the dunya and between the akhirah. The barzakh is also temporary, and it is a barrier that a person has to cross after leaving the dunya and before entering into his akhirah. Secondly, Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, we believe that the barzakh, it is real. It is something which is real. And anybody who denies the existence of the barzakh or the life of the grave, then that person has fallen into kufr, into disbelief. Na'udhu billah. Why? Because this person is rejecting the Quran and the Hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمِن وَرَائِهِمْ بَرْزَخٌ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. That behind them is a barzakh until the day in which they will be resurrected. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affirmed the existence of the barzakh in the Quran. Now if you come along, or if a person comes along and a person says, I don't believe in the barzakh, this is rejecting the Quran. And rejecting the Quran is kufr. Also the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned the barzakh and the details of the barzakh in many hadith. It's sufficient that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught all of the Sahaba after at-tahiyyat, after tashahhud, after Allahumma salli ala nabi, in your salah, ta'awwadhu min arba'. He said, seek refuge and protection in Allah from 4 matters. One of those 4 matters, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr. Oh Allah, I seek refuge and protection in you from the punishment of the grave. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam should teach the Sahaba to say this in every single salah. In every single salah, before at-taslim, the sunnah is to seek refuge in Allah and protection in Him from adhab al-qabr. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from the punishment of the grave. So it is something which is real and we have to have iman in it. Also, having iman in the life of the barzakh This is from the 6 pillars of Iman. And the 6 pillars of Iman, Arkanul Iman, they are the basis of our Aqidah. Where is the Barzakh mentioned in the 6 pillars of Iman? Al-Imanu bil-Yawm al-Akhir. Iman in the final day. And when the ulama, when they define Al-Imanu bil-Yawm al-Akhir, they say it is Al-Imanu bi kulli ma ba'd al-Maut. That having Iman in the final day is believing in everything which occurs after death. So Al-Yawm al-Akhir is not restricted to after the trumpet has blown. Rather, after a person's death, from the moment the angels come to take the soul of a person, this is now Al-Imanu bil-Yawm al-Akhir. So it is from Arkanul Iman. For this reason, the Salaf, they used to mention the Barzakh in the books of Aqidah. The Salaf, they used to mention the Barzakh in the books of Aqidah. Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, in his book Usul al-Sunnah, when he mentions the different points of our Aqidah, he mentions Al-Iman bi-Adhab al-Qabr, having Iman in the punishment of the grave. So this is from our Aqidah. Also, our Aqidah is that the Barzakh is something which is physical. It is something which is real and physical. It is a physical reality. The Barzakh is not something which is metaphorical. Rather, it is something which is real and physical, and it is a physical reality. And therefore, everything which we know of regarding the Barzakh, all of it is real, physical, it's a reality. We know that the 2 angels, they come to the person in the grave. This approaching of the angels is real and physical. We know that the grave is expanded for the mu'min, and the grave is restricted for the kafir. This is real and physical. We know that people are questioned in the grave, and the angels speak to the person in the grave. This is real and physical. It's not something which is metaphorical. It is a physical reality. We know that there are rewards in the grave. There are punishments in the grave. All of this is a physical reality. We know, as is in the hadith of Barzakh ibn Azib radiallahu anhu, that a person will be sat up in the grave. ثُمَّ يَأْتِيهِ الْمَلَكَانِ فَيُجْلِسَانِهِ وَيَسْأَلَانِهِ. The Messenger said in the hadith of Barzakh ibn Azib, and then the 2 angels approach the deceased person in the grave. And then they make him sit up. Then they ask him 3 questions. Man Rabbuk? Wa ma dinuk? Wa man nabiyyuk? Who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is your prophet? All of this, it is a physical reality. The sitting up, the questioning, the answering, all of this is a physical reality. The next point with regards to the Barzakh is that even though the life of the grave is a physical reality, however, the laws of the dunya do not apply to the life of the Barzakh. So we cannot equate between what we see and feel and perceive in the dunya with regards to the life in the Barzakh. Meaning, if a person came along and he excavated a dead body and he dug open the grave, and then he says, I can't see the grave being restricted or being expanded. I can't see a door to Jannah or a window to Jannah, a window to the fire. I don't see the ribs of the kafir and they have been squashed and overlapping. I don't see any of this. This is because the life of the Barzakh, and it's a physical reality, the laws of the dunya and the laws of nature don't apply to the life of the Barzakh. So it's a physical reality. However, it is a different dimension and a different parallel. Next, every single person enters into his grave. And don't think that the grave is the hole which is dug in the ground. This is not the meaning of Barzakh or the grave. Every single person who dies enters into his Barzakh. It doesn't matter where and how that person dies. So a person who died upon the earth and was buried in a graveyard, he has entered his qabr and he is in the Barzakh. A person who drowned in the ocean and was never buried, was drowned in the ocean, was thrown into the ocean, he enters his grave and he enters into his Barzakh. A person who was burnt by a fire or was cremated like the kuffar are doing, and it was only ashes, and then those ashes were thrown away, that person enters into his qabr and enters into his Barzakh. A person who died alone in the desert and nobody knows where that person is and how he died and whether he was buried or he was not buried, but he has entered into his qabr and he has entered into the Barzakh. So every single person enters into their qabr and the Barzakh regardless of where they died and how they died and whether they were buried or they were not buried, the ocean, the land, the desert, on a mountain top, burnt and cremated. Every single person enters the Barzakh and enters into the grave. We believe regarding the life of the Barzakh, the life of the grave, that it contains na'im, wa adab, wa fitna. Three things. We believe regarding the Barzakh, the life in the grave, that it contains na'im, wa adab, wa fitna. The meaning of na'im is the reward of the grave. That people will be rewarded. The people of Iman, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives their sins, they will be rewarded in the grave. And they will feel happiness in the grave. May Allah make us from those people. And there is also adab. The people die upon kufr and nifaq and shirk. And the people who have sins with them, they will face punishment and misery in the grave. May Allah save us from those people. And there is also the fitna, the test of the grave. And the meaning of fitna is su'al al-malakain, the questioning of the angels. So when we say Allah, make the fitna of the graves easy upon us, meaning the testing of the angels, the questioning of the angels easy upon us. We also believe that on Yawm al-Qiyamah, when the trumpets are blown, every single person will be resurrected. And every person will be resurrected, as is in the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, hufatan uratan ghurla. Every person will be resurrected naked, barefooted and uncircumcised. And then the final point is that you have to utilize those means to protect yourself and for Allah to save you from or in the life in the Barzakh, the punishment of the Barzakh. And how is that? Firstly, we mention al-isti'adha. Before taslim, in every single salah, you seek refuge in Allah and protection from Him, that He saves you from the punishment of the grave. Jawad, is it time for the adhan?
Yes, time, yeah.
Tafadhal, say the adhan.